Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for watching Once and Often. I'm Jasmine. Joining me today is another victim, another survivor, and another storyteller. Thank you so much for joining me, Tiera. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Jasmine.
Just so our audience can understand how we connected, I came across your YouTube channel where you are now openly discussing the lies that you were told from half of your life and how you got to the point where you decided to openly heal by telling your story. You found out at the age of 15 what?
I found out that my mother had overdosed from pain pills. She had been battling an addiction for a long time, since I was maybe three, due to an accident. Actually, she was on a balcony that collapsed, and ever since then, the pain pills just took over her life. So she overdosed, and at the time, I was living in Georgia with my dad and stepmother. And the same day that I found out she overdosed, my dad also revealed to me that she wasn't my biological mom and he wasn't my biological dad. My name was not Candice Flores. So basically, it was just like a snow globe that they shook up and just put it in my head for it to settle back down.
You are facing this at 15 years old and you realize, so all of this life of mine is a big lie.
Correct.
You were given the name Candice Flores. And when you say your mom overdosed, is this the woman you called mom or is this your biological mother?
This is the woman I called mom. My biological mother, I never got to meet her because by the time I found her, she had already died in prison and she was doing a life sentence for a murder charge that we think is probably a false conviction. But she's dead now, so what can we do? But basically, my mother and her sisters were drug addicts. And apparently, from what I've learned from my sisters, my aunt got my mom really messed up and took me to North Carolina and sold me. So by the time my mom woke up and her baby was gone and she tried to report it, her sister had already went and spoken to the police and told them whatever story. And my mom was in so much trouble in and out of jail all the time in that little small town. Nobody believed her. No one came searching for me. And had they came searching for me, they would have been looking for Tiera Rice. But the people who bought me for $10,000 and an 8 ball had illegally changed my name to Candice Flores. And as you know, back in '88, to get a social security card, it's nothing. All you need to do is fill out the information, send it in the mail. There it is. So to this day, I still have two social security card numbers that are legit, and one is Candice Flores, one is Tiera Rice. I would love to be able to correct this if I could, but I reached out to Social Security Administration, and they said they would take it to the higher ups. I never got response from them.
When you were born in 1988,
Hmm.
you were born Tiara Rice.
Hmm. And at
Yeah.
2 weeks old, they changed my name to Candice Flores.
So you were just a newborn when you were
Hmm.
sold
Yes,
for
ma'am.
$10,000. And
Yeah.
so for those who are watching, just for the sake of, being complete.
$10,000 and an 8 ball.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. So for those who are unaware of what
Yeah.
an eight ball is, Tiara, please tell us what is an eight ball. For those who just happen not to know,
Yeah.
what is an eight
Well,
ball?
that would be cocaine. It's an amount of cocaine, about like this much. Yeah.
So $10,000 and some cocaine.
Yes.
Who needed a child so badly that they had $10,000 to purchase a child illegally?
I still wonder to this day where she got that money because she was living on government assistance since I was a little girl. She didn't have a regular job or anything like that, lived in the projects. So I don't know where the $10,000 came from, actually. But I did learn that when she was 16 years old, she had a hysterectomy. And I think I was maybe 12 or 13 when I overheard this conversation. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. If you had a hysterectomy when you were 16, then how am I here?
Right. Hello.
And
What? What?
yeah, and she's a white woman, and my dad is a Mexican man who came from Mexico City at 19 years old. And she was an American woman that was 26. So I speak partial Spanish. I eat Mexican food. I know how to cook the Mexican food. I've been to Mexico. I thought I was really Mexican and white. Anna Maria Flores. Like, I thought that was who I was. And I was sadly mistaken. So,
When you find this out at 15 years old, and you have to direct your anger because now you're like, wait a minute. So, dad, you're not just telling me mom isn't my mom. You're also telling me you're not my dad. So then who are you? Who is this woman that I've been calling mom? And who and where are the people that belong to me or that I belong to? What
correct.
how did you handle that? That anger
Well,
had to be directed
I
somewhere.
asked all the questions that you just asked, but unfortunately, my dad had just came here as an illegal citizen, 19 years old. And to be honest, I think he married her to get that green card. And then they made a deal. Can you help me raise the kid? Either way, um, that's how it ended up. But he didn't have answers for me. He said my mom knew everything, all the paperwork, or my birth certificate, the original one. She's the only one who knew where it was, and she was already dead. So it was like, how are we going to figure this out? Which is why I wasn't able to until I was 22 years old. No ID until I was 22, no driver's license, no real job. I couldn't do anything. You need an ID for everything.
I have to wonder, how were they able to register you in school and
Great
do
question. I'm still wondering that myself. I wonder if I shouldn't go after the school system. I feel like the system failed me. Like, if you guys could at least caught on that this is not real, then I would have been in trouble. Somebody would have been in trouble for not sending me to school. Then somebody could have looked into it. But I don't know.
and see,
I
and
don't know.
laws, I do realize that laws vary from state to state. I think the thing that I'm puzzled over is the fact that in New York, say for instance, because my parents adopted and they forced it, in New York, my parents still had to prove that they were the legal guardians of their foster kids in order to register them for school. However, in your case, everything was done illegally.
I'll tell you what I do know. So, this mom that we are referring to, the one that raised me, she has a sister who is still alive, and I'm close with her, who is 10 years younger. And she had twin boys that were born 6 days after me. And she was at that birth. I'm thinking she snatched one of those birth certificates before the doctor got to fill it out. And it must have had a seal on it, right? Because you're not getting into school without a sealed birth certificate. So that's what I think. And she also used to get in trouble for forging doctors' signatures on prescriptions, drugs. I was with her one time. She got arrested for that at Walgreens. That was embarrassing. I was like 9. So she was all about the forgery.
All right. I want to go back for a second and because you mentioned that when your mom started looking for you, everyone just acted like she was just making stuff up. Like no one knew that she actually carried and birthed a child. So now I'm wondering, did they think you were placed for adoption? Did they think that she had just voluntarily gotten rid of you? Because that wasn't the story. So how were they able to just say a baby is gone and no one looked for the baby?
I used to think it was because I was brown that she got rid of me, but then I later learned that her sister sold me. And my sister, she was 12 at the time, and she remembers asking her, my granny and her granny, like, what happened to my baby sister? And she would keep asking everybody. And she said that they kept shutting her down and said, let the sleeping dog lie. And basically, everybody did know that she was pregnant with a baby, but maybe. maybe they didn't care, or maybe they thought I was better off without her. And maybe my grandma didn't want to raise a third child of hers.
Yeah.
So that's all I can think of.
It's it's one of those stories that really does make you wonder because now I think the thing that's puzzling to me is the fact that your aunt did this. Was your aunt did she have an addiction? Because
Oh, yes. She needs her own book. She was molested as a young child by her dad, along with my mom and the other sister. So the dad was molesting them. My aunt ended up pimping her own daughter out in her teenage years. I found this out. This was after I was sold. And I also learned that when she was older, old enough like an adult, she was willingly having sex with her dad for money to support her drug habit. And her daughter is still alive. We are friends on Facebook, but she died.
hold on.
Everybody that has something to do with this story is dead except for my Mexican dad. And on my channel, I've been protecting him because he's still alive, but he has not been the greatest father at all. So I was kind of relieved to figure out he wasn't my real dad, actually. It's
Okay.
just like the cycle keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. But guess what? It ends right here because
Thank
I'm
you.
done.
Were you the only child to this couple?
On that side, yes, but when my dad got with my stepmom when I was 4, she already had a son that was white American, and then they too had 2 more kids. So my little brother and sister are Mexican and white, like I thought I was. So then it became 4 on my dad and stepmom, and then my mom just only ever had me. But she didn't need a child because she couldn't get over the pain pill addiction.
For clarity, when you say your mom, are you talking about the woman you know as mom, or are you talking about that's the woman you know as mom? Okay.
Yeah, I
Because
don't ever call my biological mom because I don't remember her at all. But
gotcha.
her name is Wanda, Wanda G. And for anybody who checked out my video, I did leave the link so that you could read her entire case, like what happened. Yeah, with her versus the state. And then the mom who raised me, her name was Donna. Yeah, and I think they both died in the same year. How ironic is that?
Really?
Yes.
And what year was that?
They were both 43. How old was I in 15? Legal to see her do math. When I was 15, I was born in 88.
2003.
Yeah, or 4, something like that. Yeah, that sounds more from, yeah. Yes, because my son was born in 2005. So it was 2004 when they died. My first son was born 3 months. No, I was born in December. My birthday was December 16th. My son was born February 11th. So I just turned 16. Yeah, I was mostly pregnant the year of 15 because I rebelled after learning all this.
After your mother passed away, dad is telling you, sweet baby, I have to be honest with you and tell you something. That's not your real mom. Oh, by the way, I'm also not your real dad. And then in this conversation, you learn that your biological mother has already passed away.
No, I didn't learn that until I spent $2,000 on a private investigator and he found her. But the bad news was that she'd already died.
But
But
they
I
did.
had 2 sisters if I want to go meet them.
Did you ever know the reason why your mother had a hysterectomy at 16 years old?
Cancer on her ovaries.
At 16 years old?
Hmm. Or in the uterus or some cervical cancer or something like that. Some female
I'm stuck on
cancer
16
cells.
years, 16 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? That's so young.
She deals with this naturally when she gets older, like most women, like most of us, we want to be a mom. She can't conceive a child due to what she experienced at 16 years old. What I wonder what kept them from going through a legal adoption. Why did they take why did they use the money to illegally kidnap someone's child with some
I
cocaine?
I feel like she probably wouldn't have gotten approved for. Don't you have to meet a lot of criteria to adopt a child legally?
So,
You need to be stable, first of all. You can't be. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to say, no, you live in the projects, but like your own housing yourself. How can you take care of a child? Your own
oh,
food stamps. How can you
oh,
take care of a child? Oh, and it sucked for me, Jasmine, because my dad was doing oral sex to me since I was 4. And my mom was taking the prescription pills. And when they separated, it was like, you need to pick where you're going to go. But my mom was half asleep all the time, and all I ate was frozen chicken fettuccine alfredo dinners, and I ate at school, but it was either stay with her and half starve to death, or go over here with him.
no, no,
And I kept
no,
that a secret until I was 13,
no.
but I had to make a decision.
We can't just slide through that. We have to revisit that. Your father was doing what
Yeah,
when
he
you
was.
were what?
The first time I remember, I was 4. I remember exactly what happened, like it was yesterday. And I went to visit his house, but at the time they only had 2 bedrooms. So when I would visit, I would sleep in my stepbrother's room. And on this particular day, we needed to get ready and go somewhere. So he told me to get dressed in his room after I had got out of the bath. So I was in his room getting dressed, and that's when he came in there and introduced me to what oral sex was. And
Your father.
well, he's not my real father, thank
Well,
God.
yeah, but still, this is the man you
The
know
only
as
father
dad.
I thought and knew was mine, yeah.
And he did this to you when you were 4 years old.
Yeah, up until like 13, and it started getting weird whenever I started hitting puberty, and my like high school girlfriends or whatever, or middle school girlfriends would come over. This was before my son was born, so we must have been 11, 12, 13. He just used to be perverted and give weird looks with his eyes. And I remember these sweatpants he used to wear with no underwear, and you could tell when he was getting aroused. Like, it was just disgusting, to be honest. And I don't know why he never went to jail when I told on him. They sent me to this place for troubled teenagers. And I did not want to leave that place. I liked it there. But there was never any jail or any CPS or nothing.
There's nothing in the same mind that's going to make a person think, oh, wow, 4 years old, a minor child, you were a toddler at 4 years old. And not only did it happen at 4 years old, but it continued.
Mm-hmm.
So now by the time you are 15, you find out this entire life is a lie. You become rebellious. So
Mm-hmm.
now what does rebellion look like for you?
Sneaking out of the house, skipping school, having sex, drinking, smoking weed.
And out of that, you find out, wait, I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I was away for summer in North Carolina when I found out. And I took so many pregnancy tests just hoping that it was a false positive. But after like the 5th one, I already knew. So I got to call them and tell them over the phone, my dad and my stepmom, instead of telling them in person. So they had 2 months for the summertime to like swallow that pill. But my dad knew that I was having sex. He was teaching me about it, and he could have easily put me on birth control. He decided not to. So my stepmom sneaks me to the doctor. We sneak and get the birth control pills. Well, we thought we were, but when I got there, the pregnancy test already revealed like too late. So we
Thankfully.
got on the birth control pills, but I think I only was taking them like 2 weeks. It was I don't know. I think I must have been pregnant before I started taking the pills.
You said thankfully. Why, thankfully, what do you think would have happened if you had told your mom and dad in person that you were pregnant?
Mm. I don't know how my dad would have reacted to that because even though he's this, what I described to you in society, he's very high and mighty and respected. Like my family, I thought they were never going to believe me. That's why I didn't want to tell. Like they worshiped his ground he walked on. He was not anything like my mom, like on well, he worked hard. Like he provided for his family. He wasn't lazy. So he was doing all the right things, except for that thing.
He was doing all the right things until it came down to being a father and not inappropriately touching his daughter.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm going to keep my thoughts about your dad to myself because that hurts to know that you go through this to get custody of a child who isn't even biologically your child, and then you abuse the child in that way. Do you think in any way, because this happened to you, it started between 4 and lasted until you were a teen, preteen, or something like that? Do you think your father in any way would have been jealous to know that you were having sex with someone else?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Because even though,
That's why he didn't want me to get on birth control because he's like, that's going to make you think you have permission. But I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you I'm doing this. So we need to do something about it. And my stepmom, like I said, she was like, forget what your daddy's talking about. I'm going to take you. So we got the pills. But like I said, I think it was too late because shortly after I found out I was pregnant. I got
wow.
some more craziness for you that really boils my blood.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
let's let's get to it then, because so that I you can stop me from saying what I was thinking. So, what's the crazy part? Let's get into it.
So my dad and all his siblings eventually came from Mexico slowly and came over here and got their green cards, visas, whatever. And the youngest brother moved in with us. And after I'd already told my dad, after I'd already figured out like they ended up sending me back home from the troubled teen place. It was in Athens, Georgia. I like I told you I wanted to stay, but they ended up sending me back home. So we're trying to ignore this and make sure that like act like it doesn't didn't happen or whatever. Awkward. So my uncle moves in, and my uncle starts coming in my room and rubbing and kissing on my boobs and on my mouth and stuff. So I did not let this go on long, maybe a week or two, and they would work third shift. So every night at like 12, they would get up to leave to go to work. And the bathroom that my uncle used was on across from my room. So when I told my parents this, he didn't put my uncle out of there. So I was heated. And years later, after I had already left and moved out with my baby, my uncle ended up messing with my little sister, and she is now a lesbian because he traumatized her so bad. And I still don't know exactly what he did to her, but I know it was bad enough to cause her that. And then she went into this phase where she was shaving her eyebrows off and wearing all this dark makeup, gothic, the dog collars with the spikes and heavy metal. Like I did not recognize my little sister anymore. I still don't. And today she's 24.
24 is young,
Yeah,
very
now, but
young.
at the time she was young.
Right.
Mm.
But if she's 24 now, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So that means this started early enough for her.
She was young.
Yeah. Why aren't these people in jail? Why what kept them from being incarcerated?
I don't know. And it messed up my relationship with my stepmom too, because why are you sleeping with a pedophile? I'm not your real daughter and you knew about it and you forgave him or whatever and went to church, but this is your real daughter. And because you guys didn't listen to me and get him up out of there, look what happened to your daughter. That irked me real bad.
This is your little sister.
Hmm.
And then you have to see her live this kind of life because of what was happening
And
to
by the way,
her.
I have nothing wrong with you being gay or straight or
Right.
nothing. I just know that my sister is this because of that. She would not have been that person. She wasn't, that wasn't the path she was on at all. I think she went into a dark place.
That that'll do it.
And everybody deals with things differently. And who's to say he didn't do more to her than he did to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Did she
haven't
ever
talked
share?
about it.
Did she
She's
ever
been
share with you?
going, no, I just know she's been going to psychiatrists and taking medications.
Tiara, you you no longer go by Candice.
No, I miss my name though. I do want my name back.
Do you really?
Yeah, when I first got when I moved to my sister's house and I first got my ID, my real ID, my real birth certificate, my real social security card number, it was all good. I was able to go get ID and a job and a license. They took me to get all those things, but people were calling me Tiara and I was ignoring it because I wasn't used to answering to it. And they're like, for like a long time, people were like, why is this girl never answering her name? And it's like, I'm not about to go into the story, but I'm not used to answering to that name. So I had to
I can
get used to
understand
it.
why.
Yeah.
When you've lived much of your life being called one name and then suddenly you're like, "Oh wait, are you talking to me?" I I get
Yeah. I
that.
was 22 when I had to start being Tiara, and I'm 36 now.
What what would you say now is the difference between Candace and Tiara?
Well, Candace was clearly living in blissful ignorance. And Tiara is a warrior, truth seeking, truth teller that don't take no mess from nobody ever.
Y'all have to check out our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, comment. We're not done. I'm not ending this yet because I have a few more things I want to discuss. So now, Tiara, um, you get to the point where now you find out your biological mother is deceased, but that you have two older sisters. What happens when you now say, I want to know my sisters? Where are they?
That was quick, actually. So I paid the private investigator the $2,000, and it only took him 4 days to locate them. Um, my uncle was the first one, the brother of my biological mom, and he didn't seem very excited to meet me at all. I don't think he was fond of my mother, and he told us where the sisters live. So we contacted them and they're like, we've been looking for you. But I'm the one that found them first. So I ended up I think the private investigator told the news about it because she all of a sudden wanted me to be on the news. So she picked me up from my hotel in Atlanta and drove me all the way to Gainesville to meet my sisters. And they went in and set the cameras up before I actually went in and met them so that they could capture it all on camera.
Yep.
And yeah, and so that's how that went. And I did give it a chance. Shortly after I left the strip club and I went moved to Gainesville, got a job as a waitress at the Cheddar's restaurant near there. But like I said,
Yeah.
everything's not always
Right, right,
butterflies and
right.
rainbows, but we will get to that part.
Right. And that's the thing, guys, if you're watching, please head to her channel. It's on your screen. You have to follow this journey. In my case, I was legally adopted. You were not legally adopted. You were just stolen for a lump sum of money and some crack rock, like some cocaine. So,
You know that song, Your Mama's on Crack Rock? I used to take that song to heart real bad.
so, so the funny thing is, the
Ugh.
funny thing is, I always imagine myself, if I was not adopted, I would have been the little girl in the circle. If I was not placed for adoption, I imagine my life being the little girl in the circle
Well, you're so lucky.
in the Bedford Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn, New York, right? That would
Yeah,
have been
that.
me.
Yeah.
Um, Thankfully, that was not my story. I ended up in the suburbs. I'm a Long Island native. And so I got away from that. Thank God.
Bless you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm thankful. I really am. But it still comes with a lot of questions and a lot of emotions, a lot of big emotions too, right? Let's go
Hmm.
back for a second because you mentioned that you were stripping. So let's get into what led up to that.
Well, like I said, I didn't have an ID, and I had a child who needed formula and diapers, and I had to pay a babysitter while I was gone. So it was like, what am I going to do? And in the strip club, you can just get a fake ID and go right on in there, and that's what I did.
You were in
And I didn't know
survival
how
mode.
to. I did not know how to dance, Jasmine. I didn't know any of it. I I walked in there and I got on the stage, and I'm just like, just get the money so you can make sure your baby's okay. But I had to get off and throw up, and I had to come back the next day for an audition. I had to like get my nerve because I was not used to that kind of thing. Like
Mm.
everybody's looking at me, like it was weird. And then that's when the alcohol started to like real heavy because the drunk idiots you encounter in a place like that, it's really hard to deal with that sober. So you
Yeah.
dumb yourself down to their level. And then some you might be looking in the mirror like, who am I? What am I doing? So when you're drinking, you're just oblivious. Just makes it numb and easier. So
And this is your life at 16, though.
no, I didn't start dancing until I was 19.
Oh, 19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I
now there's,
remember I was living with my grandmother and my aunt. I had moved to North Carolina when my dad had got that job offer in Florida. But
wow.
when my grandma died, stuff started getting real. And it was like, I don't have no support system anymore.
Mm.
Because my grandma was buying everything. When I say
Right,
grandma, I'm talking about the mom of the mom that raised me.
right. You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to stay afloat for you and baby boy
Hmm.
because your support is gone. I don't have anyone else. I got to figure something out. I don't have my proper ID. You grab a pole and you don't even know what to do with the pole.
No, but I learned very quickly. And then I was in there teaching the other girls how to do
Oh,
it.
wow.
Because I'm a little person, and I know in Atlanta, most we're big peachy over here, but I'm a petite person, so I'm like, "Oh, I got to do something."
Yeah.
So I was thinking if I learn all the tricks on the pole, then maybe I'll stand out more. And so I just practiced that, and it started becoming an art. Like that was my favorite part of going to work, dancing on stage, like doing the pole tricks, not the rest of it. I was so bad at trying to sell myself, like begging somebody to give me $10 for a dance. Ugh, it's disgusting. I know. I never really got used to it. Even after 7 years, like I don't
That
love
was
it.
going to be my next question. How long did it last? So this lasted for 7 years?
Long time. I went all over the place. I met this abusive man, and he was in Atlanta, 10 years older than me. Long story short, we went Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, Alabama, like we were all over. Because when you're a new face, you make more money. So we were just constantly doing that, and we're just traveling around all the time. Never stability. So when I left him, I left with nothing but the clothes on my back.
Wow.
Yeah, I
So
looked like Frankenstein. It was like the next time I might be dead, it's time to go.
what? So he
Yeah.
became abusive.
Very. And he was also in prison for 10 years before I had ever met him. So I think he must have spent all of his 20s in prison because I was like 21 when I met him and he was 31. He was adopted though, and he was beautiful. He looked like he could have been like my brother or something. So I had never met anybody who was adopted, and I just wanted so bad for to know somebody who understood me for real. And so that's how I got so looped up in him. But girl, I was green, green,
What?
and I learned my lesson though.
He was 10 years your senior. He became abusive, but at no point did you feel like he was pimping you. He was just taking you from
I
place to place.
started feeling like that's what it was feeling like to me. To me, it felt like that's what it was to me. Yeah, and then he's driving me everywhere. I didn't have a car at the time, so he's in control of where I'm at all times, or what time you go in, what time you get off. I pick you. Like it felt like that.
And you felt like you had no other choice, like you had to deal with it.
I didn't, because when I ran away, I was homeless for a long time. Like I didn't. The Greyhound ticket. I got one of my strippers bought that for me because he beat me up so bad I couldn't even get out of the house. I didn't have time to pack up nothing. When he took off, I had to go. Like when I had the chance, I had to go.
I'm 46 and I'm 10 years older than you. And this young man who was doing this to you, he's my age.
Yep, yep.
And he's abusing you in this way, taking you from one place to another to get to the bag, as we
Mhm.
say, but at the same time abusing you. At what point did you end completely in communication with him?
We were in Florida, and I remember he was about to take me to Miami because it was Super Bowl, and I ran away right before that. And one of my stripper friends gave me money for a Greyhound ticket, and I was out of there, and I never went back.
So he just had you dancing. This wasn't like you were being sex trafficked or anything like that. Okay,
I'm just gonna
gotcha.
keep it PG for these people.
I get it. That
I
angers
know
me.
that you heard of Backpage because I
Okay,
watched one of your other viewers talking about it. That's a thing.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
that's a real thing.
Yeah, and I've heard of it. You know, I have no knowledge of it, but I've
I think
heard.
it's shut down now. I hope so, but it's a thing. But it was forced. Like, I don't care what time of the month it was or none of that. He used to make me put a sponge and cut it in a circle like a
What?
tampon shape. It was,
What?
girl,
Well,
terrible.
hold on. Forget the PG part. We're going now. We go what? So what was the sponge for? What are you talking? Wait,
So that you
hold on.
wouldn't bleed, or so the
So
blood wouldn't get everywhere.
so
Like, you go
you
sit in the bathtub for like 30 minutes and then get a sponge that's like a cylinder cut it like a tampon, and then if you put it in there, you won't know it'll just sponge all the menstrual part out. Yeah, I definitely wasn't about to reveal all that on my channel.
I
I
know, and
didn't
I'm
feel like they
sorry.
were ready for it, but for
It,
your channel, we can be honest over here. So,
yeah, no, we can. You
and I'm
know,
not being dishonest on my channel, I'm just not getting into the nitty gritty
yeah,
details.
yeah, yeah. No, it's fine because this is why stories like this need to be told because we don't know what it looks like. If I look at you as pretty as you are, I'm not going to think to myself, "Oh, she was a victim. She will never be a victim."
You
But
know,
this
I
is
think that's part of the reason why I needed to tell this. I'm so tired of people thinking I'm some kind of little pretty little spoiled princess. I ain't never had nothing in life for free. Never.
yeah. Yeah. Your life starts with you being abducted, sold. I'm not even going to say abducted, but sold. You go through all of this. You end up in the, I'm just going to say, the backstage life, right? Is that what it's called? Backstage?
Back page.
Back page. I'm sorry. You
Mm-hmm.
end up in the back page life. Um, Before we get to your story, just so we can move along, briefly explain to me what was, if you can recall, the worst night you've had when you hung out with him. What did that look like?
Oh, I do remember that one. Um, ugh, I haven't thought about this in a long time. So I don't enjoy sex with men. I never have since what was going on. Like, I've never had an orgasm from a man ever. So it all was terrible to me. But there was just this one man, and it was just too much for me to handle, and I didn't want to complete that mission. So I tried to like call him and be like, I can't do this or whatever. And he didn't let me come back in the other room. And also, the reason why it turned into that from the strip club was because you might go in the strip club and make $300 or $400 a night, but on the back page you can make $200 or $300 an hour. Yeah.
What's after you left? You had no communication. You don't know where he is, what he's doing, anything.
Well, I ran into this wedding reception. I didn't know where I was running. I just ran somewhere. And somebody told him that I was running off. And he tried to come running after me because he was gone, but he was pulling back up. And instead of getting out and coming into the room, he tried to. That was the only building I could have ran into from where we were. And I ran in there and I was in the bathroom and I was telling the ladies that were a part of this wedding reception. My face was messed up. And so they were trying to help me. He ran in that women's bathroom after me. The only thing that saved me was they said, if you don't leave now, we're calling the police. And then from there, I think I had been secretly making friends of customers at the club because I knew I was trying to plan an escape. And so I had someone's number to let me stay with them until my face got, healed enough to be walking around in public. So I stayed there a couple days. And then after that, that's when the girl got me the Greyhound ticket to come back to Atlanta. Yeah.
Do you do you make an effort to conceal his identity because of who he is or because you know how dangerous he is?
I don't care if I reveal his identity. And
I
you
don't
know
either. That's
what?
why
He
I'm
used
asking.
to
You could
be
say.
He used to be dabbling in these very high class people. Like we met a bunch of celebrities. I'm not gonna say their names, but when this whole Diddy thing was
I
on
was gonna say,
the
don't tell me you were at the Diddy parties now. I'm just kidding,
no,
but
no, but do you know on the when the whole thing with Diddy, they have him on the on a certain clip on the show where he's in Miami. This man's name is Chico, by the way. His name is Dwayne Jackson, but we call him Chico. And like I said, he's light skinned like me. He's got waves, Rico Suave looking. He looks mixed like me. You can't tell what color he is.
Mhm.
He's in that shot. I paused it for 30 minutes making sure it's him. He's in that shot. So he's always dabbling around in that same kind of mess. And I did a Google search on him many years ago. He got arrested with some more prostitutes in another hotel. So he's still doing that same thing. He should be in trouble. But I used to believe that everything he was telling me was just like when I left him, I was so green and I had no guidance. So everything he taught me, I used to think, well, I don't know what to do because I don't have nobody to tell me what to do. So I used to think, what would Chico do? What would Chico do? And for a long time, I was always thinking, what would Chico do? And then I don't know, eventually I just learned how to make up my own mind.
you live most of your life as a lie. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you find that out, the other half of your life you are just unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, where do you find that balance? Where do you find that thing? I'm going to assume it's in your sons, but the thing that keeps you afloat, because what you just shared, people would absolutely have a nervous breakdown and just fall apart from the life that you had, from knowing that this is all I was worth. $10,000 in an eight ball? Is this all I was worth? You could absolutely live in misery, but you're not. As again, you're just so pretty. You're going on with life. You've gone through all of these circumstances, and you're now sharing your story. What is the battery in your back?
The battery in my back. I like that. I just know that God did not send us here, and this is all there is. I think we all need to wake up and realize that we have the power to create whatever life we want. And I know that this is traumatizing, but all this stuff is in the past. And I will not let that define me. And I will not lay down and sulk in that misery until the day I die. I deserve better. And if nobody's going to hand it to me, I'm going to go take it or
I
figure
know
out how
that's
to
right.
get it myself.
I
So.
know that's right. I
And I
just
want to empower people because I know that there are people with stories worse than mine
yeah.
and similar to mine, and they're just broken and they're like, there's no way around this. I'm just forever stuck in this misery. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. You got to be a
Yeah.
little bit delusional sometimes
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
believe in yourself. The part
Times.
of God in all of us,
Right.
as
Right.
powerful as He is, we can
Yes.
do something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like God give his toughest fights to his strongest warriors.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, right? He gives his toughest fights to his strongest warriors because how are we still here? How did we go through so much trauma and we're still able to talk about it? And you're not even embarrassed about your story. You are absolutely happy to share your story. You're on YouTube, you're talking about it.
It took a long time.
Oh,
I
I
had to
know.
read a lot of books. And like your channel is the first channel I've came across, and I was like obsessed with this because like these are the kind of people and the stories that I relate to. I want to hear so I've read many books about abused women and stuff, and I've tried to write a book maybe 10 times already.
Finish
I
it.
just didn't know the ending. So I'm like, if I do it on YouTube, then they can just follow along with me and we'll
Yeah.
figure out the ending together. That's what the plan is.
And that's the thing, the ending, wondering how it's all going to end, right? Not that we're
Beautiful.
in a
Whatever it
rush.
is, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I refuse to
Because
think.
even this is beautiful. The fact that you can go through something so traumatizing and share the story, even this is beautiful because you can really live in shame. You can really hold that all to yourself and live in the fact that, yes, I was sold. I went through this. I found out this was a lie. I'm not going to tell anyone about it. I'm just going to stay this way. But instead, you're like, no, I'll say
Well, I tried that way that you just said. It didn't work for me. So it's like, if this don't work, you got to try something else. But doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is what? And I'm already right there on the class of insanity. So yeah, whatever helps me get through.
Why do you think this helps you so much, though?
I just I don't know if it's helping me, but I know that it's going to help somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And I like if I can just remember that lost little girl that I was, if somebody could have helped me, I'm trying to be that for whoever needs me to be that for them. And I feel like I'm selfish if I keep it to myself. It almost feels like forever I've been feeling like you're supposed to share this story. You're supposed, and I carry a guilt on me because I haven't finished my book. But now that I started this channel, I feel a little better. I just feel like it's my purpose. Like I am supposed. There's no way I lived through all this crap for no reason. This
Yeah.
this can't all be for nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn this pain into a purpose.
I know that's right. Tiara, before I let you go, I want to get clarity on one last thing. Because on your channel, you said you were working to have your mother's co-defendant exonerated. He's still
Mhm.
incarcerated.
I sent that letter today, actually, in the mail. Yeah,
Did you?
I did.
Good for you, because as far as you know, he and your mother were both innocent of the crime. Is that correct?
Yes, they're not innocent people, obviously, or you
Right.
wouldn't have been wrapped up in the police for them to set you up. But they didn't murder the guy. Uh, I don't know if anybody could see, but that letter that is on there from the lady, she's admitting that she got paid $2,500 to lie on the stand. She's
Yeah.
admitting it,
You
and
have to
she's
pause
admitting
the
her
video and you can read
guilt.
it. That's what I had to do. I paused the video so that I could read it.
I think I should have put in a link. I don't know, but I'm a little bit afraid, to be honest, because what if the DA tries to do something to me for trying to exonerate this man? Because I'm calling them out.
Have you heard of the Innocence Project?
Yes,
Yeah. Um, Try connecting with them. They work hardcore to help people get released from prison for, when they're innocent. So I would,
I feel like if I don't do it, no one else is. He already sat in
hmm,
there for 35 years.
that's insane.
I sent him the news article and I told him who I was, but I didn't want to say too much because I know that they're reading his.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a long time to sit in there and waste your life for something
it is,
you didn't
especially when they're
do.
innocent. If they are innocent, do the work that's necessary to prove their innocence and release them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair.
Exactly.
Tiera, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. This was great. I wasn't even expecting all of this. We went
Well, I'm
into some
glad that
areas
I
that I didn't know we were
entertained
going to
you.
touch. But I'm grateful for your transparency, for your time, for your story, for sharing it with me. All of that. I'm just so grateful because this is going to reach somebody. This is going to reach some people, and they're going to find courage in this. And and that's the whole purpose of this.
Absolutely.
That's the whole purpose of this. That's why, this storytelling platform is necessary, because regardless of what it does for ourselves, we also have to look at what it does for other people.
Yep.
So I'm forever grateful, and I thank you so much. But you already know we're connected now, so
Yes,
we'll be
ma'am.
talking a whole lot more.
I look forward to it.
Guys, what do you want to shout out about? Go ahead. I'm going to, your channel is on the page anyway. But please, if you all want to see her tell her story, and the way that she does, and it's just the cutest thing, please check out her channel. Go like, subscribe, comment, share. It
Oh,
is.
I made it to 100 subscribers.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I was excited.
Small milestones, but we're getting there, right? We are
Yeah, we're
getting there.
getting
Good for
there.
you.
Yes,
Thank
we're
you,
getting there.
Tiara.